Here's how I made this 19th century bodice while studying at Huddersfield. I did the costume with textiles course, and for our second term in our first year we all made a bodice. So we started by draping calico over the stand to get some pattern pieces. I then took them pieces off the mannequin and added a 2.5cm seam allowance and cut them again out of calico. I was then able to flat tack them to my main fabric, which just stuck the two pieces of fabric together and gave me a stitch line to follow. I was then able to start constructing the body, so I just pinned along the stitch line which I just created with the flat tack lines, and the darts just helped to add some shape to the lower part of the bodice. And then here's me at the end of that session with 4 darts in the front, and you can just see how it adds shape to the front. I was then able to start sewing the rest of the bodice together. So here's me just sewing down the side seams, and then here is where I got to at the end of that session. So we just have the side seam and the curved seam on the back done, which I was pretty happy with. I then started on the bias binding and the piping, so this just made the bottom of the bodice and the top neckline have a nicer finish. I was then able to slip stitch the top and the bottom down just to make it look more neat. So then we started on the sleeve, so here's me just constructing the pattern pieces for that. So for mine I did 2 puffs and then some smocking, so here's me just doing what we call slashing and spreading, which is like cutting up an original pattern piece and making it bigger. I then sewed them puffs into the sleeve to make sure they fit properly. I was then able to see if I had made any mistakes, so that's why we do the toiles, so we can see anything that we've done wrong so we don't do the same mistakes on our top fabrics. And I moved on to the top fabric, and here's me just doing the same thing with the puffs and gathering them so they fit. Then here's me just pressing the seams open, which is what you have to do with all the seams. Once the puffs were done, I sewed them onto my original sleeve. So here's my finished sleeve, and I'm just positioning it in the armhole to see where I want it to sit. And then I'd finished the bodice and I tried it on. So then I was ready to take some pictures, so I just pinned it on the mannequin, as you can see here. And then we took it downstairs in the Barbara Hepworth building, where you can take some pictures with the lights, and it looks really good. And then here's my finished bodice. I'm very proud of how this turned out, and I feel like I've learned a lot in first year, and I'm very excited for second year.